I'm recording in my pajamas because that's what I was wearing when I saw the news that Christopher Hitchens had died. I had been working late that night. The news flashed across Twitter. My first thought was to wake my wife. Then I realized bad news can always wait until morning. So I opened another tab on the screen and began to write down some recollections of our friend. 2 or 3 hours passed. I heard my wife's tread on the stair. Somehow she knew that something was wrong. We poured a glass of Johnny Walker Black, Christopher's favorite, and toasted his memory. As I look back on his life at this time, the memories I have are memories of friendship. Christopher Hitchens was important to so many people in so many ways, as a writer, as a speaker, as a debater, as a TV presence. He had, in his final years, emerged into true fame, the kind of fame where people stop him on the sidewalk as he walked down the road, and not just in his own city, but all across the world.
You look great, by the way. I know you have been working on your health. Obviously not completely, but I've read about it.
No, the New England Journal of Medicine says at least 2 drinks a day for the heart and the bloodstream.
Well, of course, that's bullshit, but we don't have
No.
Get it.
And by the way, the wine should not be white. All the Chardonnay drinkers have been wasting their time.
Look.
Red. Pinot Noir.
Christopher worked hard. My God, did he work hard. He wrote millions of words, thousands of television appearances. The very first time I met him, he rolled into a C-SPAN studio in the early hours of the morning, not looking so good. And it turned out the reason he looked so bad was not just what you might expect, but also that he'd been up till all hours the night before talking to Australian television. And yet there he was, on time for his C-SPAN appearance. And yet this hardworking man had a gift that is very rare in American life, especially here in Washington. And that was of making time vanish, of enjoying the moment. You could spend hours in his company as if he had not a care or trouble in the world. And then he might rise for a few minutes and bang out a column or take a phone call and then return and could resume smoking, resume drinking, resume pouring the champagne. He lived for life, not just for causes. As I miss him, what I miss most is something strangely difficult to record, and that is his genius for friendship. Christopher Hitchens was friends with many, many people. And each of us felt that we were something special to him, but the truth was that he was always something special to us. He had a gift for human connection that really lies strangely with his reputation as a debater of ferocity. I remember a night he and I had done an event together at New York University. It had been a hard event. It was shortly after 9/11. Passions were running high. Christopher and I were fortunately on the same team. To enter a debate alongside Christopher Hitchens was like going into battle alongside the United States Marines. After it was all over, I was very tired. But Christopher wasn't. A throng of students formed. They wanted a few minutes with him. Well, he was happy to give them the few minutes. He talked to them on the curb. He talked to them on the street. And then he vanished with them into a neighborhood bar where he spent hours and hours. And each of them was left feeling for life, I think, as if they had gained access to a piece of this great man. And they had, because he was generous with many things, but above all generous with himself. Christopher often described himself as a contrarian, and certainly he could be contrary. Yet this description, I think, misses something important. Christopher's life was shaped by things he had once believed and then ceased to believe in. He said of his early faith in socialism that he missed it the way a man might miss a lost arm. Of all the many days and nights that he and I sat around a table together, there's one incident that somehow comes most strongly to mind when I think of him tonight. He had come for a Sunday lunch. Lunch had started at 12:30 and stretched till 1:30 and 2 and 2:30. We were all having a wonderful time, and suddenly there was a strange noise, a kind of moaning. Our Labrador Retriever had gotten into the cat food. We then had a cat and had eaten about 2/3 of a giant bag and was desperately ill. Had to be rushed to hospital. The lunch was interrupted. We loaded up the dog, and off we went. Reported the next day to Christopher that everything had been fine, that the dog had been saved. And he said, "Man, does that dog know how to live?" So did he.